Welcome everybody, this is Alan with Daily Armor of God. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well. This is Reading the Bible in 123 days. We're on day 83. And today we'll be starting Ezekiel. Now if you remember this chart here, if you look here in the 70 years of exile, we have the book of Daniel and the book of Ezekiel, both which were written sometime during that time period of the 70 years in exile in Babylon. So, Ezekiel is one of those books written in exile. And it's also a book of prophecy. There's lots of prophecy in the book of Ezekiel as well. Same with Daniel. So, just wanted to show this chart here again, just to get a better explanation of the time period it was written. So, somewhere in the exile. Starting here with Ezekiel chapter 1. Verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, the word of Yahweh came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar, and the hand of Yahweh was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself. And a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. As to the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, the face of a lion on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. They 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. They went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up as one up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. The living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by living creatures with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them 4. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. Man, can you imagine seeing this? Wow. Like, he's describing it here, but even though he's describing it, our minds probably can't comprehend exactly what he saw. Like, it's just because our minds, our imaginations are limited to what he's describing. But I bet you it was way more detailed than what he's saying here, and can't even imagine what they would have looked like. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was the color of a terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were their wings straight and one toward another. Every one had two which covered on this side, and every one had two which covered on that side, their bodies. And when they went, I heard a noise of their wings like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads, when they stood and had let down their wings. And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as appearance of a man upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yahweh. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Ezekiel 2. And he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me when he spake unto me, and set me upon my feet, that I heard him spake unto me. He said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that hath rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. For they are impudent children and stiff-hearted. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. And they, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with thee. And thou dost dwell among scorpions, do not be afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not thou rebellious like that rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. And when I looked, and behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. Ezekiel 3. Moreover he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then I did eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them. Thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely I had sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me, for all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. As an adamant, harder than flint, have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Moreover he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee receive in thine heart, and hear with thine ears. And go, get thee to them of the captivity unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. Then the Spirit took me up, and I heard behind me a voice of a great rushing, saying, Blessed be the glory of Yahweh from his place. I heard also the noise of the wings of the living creatures that touched one another, and the noise of the wheels over against them, and a noise of a great rushing. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness, in the heat of my spirit, but the hand of Yahweh was strong upon me. Then I came to them of the captivity at Tel Abib, that dwelt by the river of Chebar, and I sat where they sat, and remained there astonished among them 7 days. And it came to pass at the end of the 7 days, that the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, Thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. Again, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness, and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die, because thou hast not given him warning. He shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he hath done shall not be remembered, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Nevertheless, if thou warn the righteous man, that the righteous sin not, and he doth not sin, he shall surely live, because he is warned. Also thou hast delivered thy soul. And the hand of Yahweh was there upon me, and he said unto me, Arise, go forth into the plain, and I will there talk with thee. Then I arose and went forth into the plain, and behold, the glory of Yahweh stood there, as the glory which I saw by the river of Chebar, and I fell on my face. And the Spirit entered into me, and set me upon my feet, and spake with me, and said unto me, Go, shut thyself within thine house. But thou, O son of man, behold, they shall put bands upon thee, and shall bind thee with them, and thou shalt not go out among them. And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, and that thou shalt be dumb, and shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house. But when I speak with thee, I will open thy mouth, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh. He that heareth, let him hear, and he that forbeareth, let him forbear, for they are a rebellious house. And can you imagine, even in captivity, they're there, being punished, and they still, well, we already know what's going to come. Most of them, well, I don't know about most, but a lot of them still won't follow God. Isn't that just crazy? You're being punished. You're being in captivity. You're living in captivity, and you still won't follow God. A lot of them do, though. A lot of them do. But they're also forced to worship the Babylonian gods, if not they're doing it willingly. So, and that's what they said would happen, that they would go into a land. What Moses and God both prophesied, that they would serve other gods and then be punished and taken to a land where they know not, and serve other gods there too. So it's like, no matter what happens, they still are so stubborn and hard-hearted, as the Bible says, that they will not listen to God. And it's just so sad. So, Ezekiel 4. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile, and lay it before thee in a portrait upon the city, even Jerusalem. Also, here's another little tidbit, and it's kind of confusing. But as far as I know, from what I understand the scripture, you got to remember, the children of Israel, including Israel and Judah, the split kingdom. So the people who were living in the territory of Israel, they were, if you recall, all of their kings were wicked and evil, and God dealt with them, and a lot of them were taken away captive. You have to remember, this is way before Jerusalem fell. Way before that, the people of Israel in the Israel territories, they got taken away, either killed or taken away captive to other lands as well. Like, that was their punishment. They went first, a lot of them, and a lot of the enemies dwelt in their cities. So you have to remember that did happen. So there were people in captivity before the final captivity of Jerusalem. So Jerusalem marks the very end of, pretty much the whole kingdom of Israel as a whole. There's no more kingdom of Israel anymore. No Judah, no Israel, nothing. So that's when Nebuchadnezzar besieges the city of Jerusalem and then finally takes away people. But you have to remember that it doesn't just happen all at once. So first you have Israel, who gets taken captive at different points in time into captivity, and then you have Jerusalem. You have to remember Jerusalem as well. There was I think at least two different times people got taken away. So there was like the first time people got taken captive, and I think that was during Jeremiah's time period. He actually saw it twice in his lifetime. So he was there when they took people away the first time from Jerusalem, and then the final time is what we usually think about, is the final, where they burn everything and the walls come down and they destroy everything, loot everything, kill or take people captive. They did leave a small remnant, if you remember. There was a small remnant that they left for vine dressers and husbandmen, right? But then we already know what happened to that remnant, if you recall. Some rebels forced all the remnant that somehow survived the siege and all the pestilence and famine. They took them and went to Egypt, and then unfortunately, including Jeremiah, unfortunately they all died there in Egypt, because Nebuchadnezzar had beef with Egypt. And so when he went to Egypt, obviously he just killed everybody, I guess. But yeah, God told the remnant, don't go to Egypt, otherwise you'll die. And what did they do? They went to Egypt and they died. So you have to remember that it takes place. My whole point of all this is all these different captivities and sieges and whatnot takes place over a long period of time. It's not all at once, and it's all spread out. So when you see something like this, the siege of Jerusalem predicted, and also I believe Ezekiel, I think we're going to get to that, but Ezekiel is in the time period where it's before the final captivity of Jerusalem. So he's serving in captivity somewhere, and this is before the final captivity of Jerusalem, the second time. So that's why it says siege of Jerusalem predicted, and there's going to be a prediction here, because this was before the final siege. So that, like I said, there was captivity way before Jerusalem. God allowed the nations to take Israel, the kingdom of Israel, pretty much take everybody out of their cities and as captives, and then also slowly, one by one, city by city in Judah, all the cities in Judah got taken away captive as well, and then finally Jerusalem. So anyway, my point in all this is the time period is could be a little bit confusing. I'm trying to make it a little bit less confusing, because when I first read the Bible, I thought all the captivity took place at once, so I was really confused reading it through the first time, because I'm like, what? Siege of Jerusalem? But we already read about the siege of Jerusalem and all this other stuff, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more clear. So right here, Ezekiel's time period, it's either before Jeremiah, or he could have been alive during Jeremiah, but either way, it was before the final siege of Jerusalem, and the final captivity of Jerusalem, because the children of Israel as a whole had been taken away captive for many years. It's been going on for many years. So anyway, let's get back to Ezekiel 4. So, thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it, and set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it round about. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city. Set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged. And thou shalt lay siege against it, and this shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Also, we're going to get to it here in a bit, But also, if you've read the Bible before, you know that I think Ezekiel is going to be the one who's taken away in the spirit. He's taken away in the spirit, and he gets a glimpse of Jerusalem, the current, in that time period, Jerusalem, where they were doing all these wicked abominations in the temple of God. So we're going to get to that here soon. But it's just, yeah, it's sick. We get a little bit more context of what these abominations were that they were doing. And we already know what they were, basically. It's just like devil worship, idol worship, sacrificing sons and daughters, every evil you can possibly imagine, fornication, and all this other stuff. So, lie also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it. Thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to the other till thou hast ended the days of thy siege. Take thou also unto thee wheat, and barley, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days shalt thou eat thereof. And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day, from time to time thou shalt eat. Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the 6th part of a hin, from time to time shalt thou drink. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. Ugh. And Yahweh said, Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Then said I, Ah, Lord Yahweh, behold, my soul hath not been polluted, for from my youth up even until now have I not eaten that which dieth of itself, or is torn in pieces, neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth. Then he said to me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung, and thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Moreover he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonied one with another, and consume away for their iniquity. So, we've already read this. This actually comes to pass. What happens in the siege of Jerusalem? Famine. They starve, and they start eating each other, and they have no water, and they die by the pestilence. And then finally, when the walls come down, the enemy comes in, probably kills a lot of them, takes a lot of them away captive. So we see this as prophecy being fulfilled. Ezekiel 5. And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife, take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head and upon thy beard. Then take thee balances to weigh, and divide the hair. Thou shalt burn with fire the 3rd part in the midst of the city, when the days of the siege are fulfilled. And thou shalt take a 3rd part, and smite it about it with a knife, and the 3rd part thou shalt scatter in the wind, and I will draw out the sword after them. Thou shalt also take therefore a few in number, and bind them in thy skirts. Then take of them again, and cast them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire, for thereof shall the fire come forth into all the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, This is Jerusalem. I have set in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her, and she hath changed my judgments into wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries that are round about her. For they have refused my judgments and my statutes, they have not walked in them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because ye multiplied more than the nations that are round about you, and ye have not walked in my statutes, neither have kept my judgments, neither have done according to the judgments of the nations that are round about you. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I, even I, am against thee, and will execute judgments in the midst of thee in the sight of the nations. And I will do thee that which I have not done, and whereunto I will not do any more the like, because of all thine abominations. Therefore the father shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and the sons shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgments in thee, and the whole remnant of thee will I scatter into all the winds. Therefore as I live, saith Yahweh, saith the Lord Yahweh, surely because thou hast defiled my sanctuary with all thy detestable things, and with all thine abominations, therefore will I also diminish thee, neither shall mine eyes spare, neither will I have any pity. A third part of thee shall die with the pestilence, and with the famine shall they be consumed in the midst of thee, and a third part shall fall by the sword round about thee, and I will scatter a third part into all the winds, and I will draw out a sword after them. Thus shall mine anger be accomplished, and I will cause my fury to rest upon them, and I will be comforted, and they shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it in my zeal when I have accomplished my fury in them. Moreover, I will make thee waste, and a reproach among the nations that are round about thee, in the sight of all that pass by. So it shall be a reproach and a taunt, an instruction and an astonishment unto the nations that are round about thee, when I shall execute judgments in thee in anger and in fury and in furious rebukes. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you, and I will break your staff of bread. So will I send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. Ezekiel 6. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the mountains of Israel, and prophesy against them, and say, Ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, Behold, I, even I, will bring a sword upon you, and I will destroy your high places, and your altars shall be desolate, and your images shall be broken, and I will cast down your slain men before your idols, and I will lay the dead carcasses of the children of Israel before their idols, and I will scatter your bones round about your altars, and all your dwelling places the city shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished. And the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered through the countries. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whither they shall be carried captives, because I am broken with their whorish heart, which hath departed from me, and with their eyes which go whoring after their idols. And they shall loathe themselves for all the evils which they have committed, and all their abominations. And they shall know that I am Yahweh, and that I have not said in vain that I would do this evil unto them. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Smite with thine hand, and stamp with thy foot, and say, Alas for all the evil abominations of the house of Israel, for they shall fall by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. He that is far off shall die the pestilence, and he that is near shall fall by the sword, and he that remaineth as besieged shall die by the famine. Thus will I accomplish my fury upon them. Then shall ye know that I am Yahweh, when their slain men shall be among their idols, round about their altars, upon every high hill, and all the tops of the mountains, and under every green tree, and under every thick oak, the place where they did offer sweet savour to all their idols. So will I stretch out mine hand upon them, and make the land desolate, yea, more desolate than the wilderness toward Diblah, and all their habitations, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Ezekiel 7. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord Yahweh unto the land of Israel, the end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abomination shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, an evil, and only evil, behold, is come. Thus saith, an end is come, an end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come. The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come, the day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. Now will I shortly pour out my fury upon thee, and accomplish mine anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways, and thine abominations that are in the midst of thee. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, that smiteth. Behold the day, behold, it is come. The morning is gone forth, the rod hath blossomed, pride hath budded, violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. None of them shall remain, nor their multitude, nor any of theirs, neither shall there be wailing for them. The time is come, the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn, for wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. But the seller shall not return to that which is sold, although they were yet alive, for the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which shall not return, neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life. They have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none goeth to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. The sword is without, and the pestilence, and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. But they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, every one for his iniquity. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. They shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. Isn't this an important verse right here? How many times in the Bible does it say that we can't take our riches with us? And how true is this verse? In the day of wrath, all these rich, evil people in this world right now that think that they can escape and have all these underground bunkers and whatnot, and wealth and everything else that they have, thinking that their gold and their wealth can save them from God's wrath. Nope. They'll try to hide themselves, but they can't get away from the wrath of God. Just like here, their gold won't be able to deliver them, won't be able to save them from the wrath of God, from the wrath of Yahweh. Nothing will be able to save them. So, they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty, but they made the images of their abominations, of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them. And I will give it into the hands of the strangers for a prey, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. My face will I also turn from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robber shall enter into it and defile it. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor, and then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. The king shall mourn, and the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of the people of the land shall be troubled. I will do unto them after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Ezekiel 8. And it came to pass in the 6th year, the 6th month, and the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord Yahweh fell upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness, as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire. and from his loins even upward the appearance of brightness as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of a hand, and took me by a lock of mine head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where there was a seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now, the way toward the north. So I lift up mine eyes, the way toward the north, and behold northward at the gate of the altar this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. So here we go. So I was talking about earlier, Ezekiel's seen through the Spirit, through a vision, literally what they're doing in real time over in Jerusalem. Like he's still in captivity in the Chaldees, or wherever that may be. But yeah, it's pretty amazing what God can do, isn't it? Being able to be in the Spirit and see these things. Although being able to see the abominations wouldn't be so great, but the power of God being able to take him and show him, even though he's really far away, is pretty amazing. So Ezekiel 8:7, and he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the wall round about. So tons of idols, tons of images, just craziness. So this is like describing a hidden chamber, or maybe an underground passage hidden chamber. And this is just sick what they're doing, using the temple as a place of worshiping abominations. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jaazaniah the son of Shaphan, with every man in his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imagery? For they say, Yahweh seeth us not, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. And he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Isn't that interesting? Tammuz. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that here today, but just look that up if you're interested about who worships Tammuz in these times today. Be surprised. And said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house. Behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, behold, the porch and the altar were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. And he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger, and lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury, mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, and though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. So, they're doing all these abominations in secret, plus more. You know, the Bible tells us more of these abominations that they do. Just sick, evil practices that center around human sacrifice, baby babies and blood and all this sick, evil stuff. So, Ezekiel 9. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said, in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite, let not your eye spare, neither have pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary, when they begin at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said to them, To file the house and fill the courts with the slain, go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Lord Yahweh, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel, and thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then said he unto me, The iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth, and Yahweh seeth not. And as for me also, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. Ezekiel 10. Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims, there appeared over them, as it were a sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. Now the cherubims stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Then the glory of Yahweh went up from the cherub, and stood over the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahweh's glory. The sound of the cherubs' wings, which was heard even to the outer court, as the voice of the Almighty God when he speaketh. And it came to pass that when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, Take the fire from between the wheels, from between the cherubims, then he went in and stood beside the wheels. And one cherub stretched forth his hand from between the cherubims unto the fire that was between the cherubims, and took thereof, and put it into the hand of him that was clothed with linen, who took it and went out. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hand under their wings. And when I looked, behold, the 4 wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, another wheel by another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color of beryl stone. And as for their appearances, they 4 had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. When they went up upon their 4 sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. And their whole body, and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they 4 had. As for the wheels, it was cried unto them in my hearing, O wheel! And every one had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub, the second face was the face of a man, the third face of a lion, and the 4th face of an eagle. The cherubims were lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chebar. And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them. And when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. When they stood, these stood, and when they were lifted up, these lifted up themselves also. For the spirit of the living creature was in them. And the glory of Yahweh departed from off the threshold of the house, and stood over their cherubims. And the cherubims lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate of Yahweh's house, and the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river of Chebar, and I knew that they were the cherubims. Everyone had 4 faces apiece, and everyone 4 wings, in the likeness of the hands of a man under their wings. The likeness of their faces was the same faces which I saw by the river of Chebar, their appearances in themselves, and they went every one straight forward. Ezekiel 11. Moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me unto the east gate of Yahweh's house, which looketh eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate 25 men, among whom I saw Jezaniah the son of Azur, and Pelatiah the son of Benaniah, princes of the people. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief, and give wicked counsel in this city, which say, It is not near, let us build houses. The city is the cauldron, and we shall be the flesh. Therefore prophesy against them, prophesy, O son of man. The Spirit of Yahweh fell upon me, and said unto me, Speak, thus saith Yahweh. Thus have ye said, O house of Israel, for I know the things that come into your mind, every one of them. Yeah, this is actually true for us all. Our God knows all our thoughts, even before we think Him. He knows our hearts, even better than we know them. So, that's why I think it's for the verse in the New Testament. I think it's Paul who says to keep our thoughts in check, keep our thoughts under control. Every thought that comes into our mind, we should check, and make sure it's a right thought. So that's just what this verse reminds me of. God knows our thoughts. He knows our hearts. That's why we should keep those thoughts in check, right? You have multiplied your slain in the city, and ye have filled the streets thereof with the slain. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, your slain whom ye have laid in the midst of it, they are the flesh, and the city is the cauldron, but I will bring you forth out of the midst of it. Ye have feared the sword, and I will bring a sword upon you, saith the Lord Yahweh, and I will bring you out of the midst thereof, and deliver you into the hands of strangers, and will execute judgments upon you. Ye shall fall by the sword, and I will judge you in the border of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. This city shall not be your cauldron, neither shall ye be the flesh in the midst thereof, but I will judge you in the border of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. For ye have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgments, but have done after the manners of the heathen that are round about you. And it came to pass, when I prophesied, that Pelatiah the son of Benaiah died. Then fell I down upon my face, and cried with a loud voice, and said, Ah, Lord Yahweh, wilt thou make a full end of the remnant of Israel? Again the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all the house of Israel holy, are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Get you far from Yahweh, unto us is this land given in possession. Therefore say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. Wherefore say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will even gather you from the people, and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. They shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes, and keep mine ordinances, and do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. But as for them whose heart walketh after the heart of their detestable things, their abominations, I will recompense their way upon their own heads, saith the Lord Yahweh. That's a good verse right there, and it still rings true today. God will recompense us. God will chastise us and unbelievers. Well, I guess in the case of unbelievers, they get recompensed. We get chastised as Christians. Um, and I think the difference is that even though we sometimes fail and we get chastised for it or punished for it, it's still, that chastisement is to guide us back to the path that God wants us to go. So it's out of love that God does that, chastises us. But for unbelievers, they will get their recompense. They will get what their fair punishment. Those who walk in their own ways. And we see that often, especially now in today's world. They just may walk after their own detestable things, their abominations, and also not only that, but the world is making them out to be good, trying to normalize it, and say that good is evil and evil is good. Look at what's going on in the news about how different countries are banning the Bible, and different school systems are banning the Bible, and all this other stuff. This is just the start of it. We may live to see where reading the Bible or talking about the Bible may become illegal, and we may get punished for it. We may get killed for it. Even the Bible says, Christians will get their heads chopped off in the tribulation, maybe even before, for Jesus Christ. And so we may live to see that day where reading the Bible will become an evil thing and outlawed, which it already is outlawed in many countries. Anyway, my point in all this is evil is being made good, and good is being made evil in this world, and probably back then too, but in this day and age as well. We really see this. So, Ezekiel 11:22. Then did the cherubims lift up their wings, and the wheels beside them, and the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. And the glory of Yahweh went up from the midst of the city, and stood upon the mountain which is on the east side of the city. Afterwards the Spirit took me up, and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of God into Chaldea, to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. And I spake unto them of the captivity all the things that Yahweh had showed me. Okay, well, lots of prophecy here. Lots of them. And also fulfillment of prophecy we see happening here. But man, I think it's just amazing, all these descriptions of the angels that are, well, I don't know if they're angels per se, but that have the 4 heads and 4 wings and all this other stuff, like, and eyes in their wings and in their wheels, whatever that is. It's kind of amazing. Like, what exactly is this? So there's things that we can't even comprehend, spiritual things that we can't even comprehend. So it's going to be interesting when we get to heaven to see all the things that we can't even imagine here on earth, like what angels really look like, and what all these other things like cherubims. There's not just angels in heaven. There's other things. The Bible says there's a heavenly host. So it's very interesting to read about that stuff. So anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you guys have a great evening, morning, noon, wherever you're at. Remember to put God first in everything you do. Have faith in Him. Have trust in Him. Wait upon Him, and you'll never be sorry. And God willingly, we'll see you tomorrow with more Ezekiel. So, God willingly, thanks again, and we'll see you later.